My name is Tina Wynn, 29 years old. Christmas had barely ended when the call came. Just a casual dinner with friends, I thought. A weeknight hum of conversation, clinking forks, and soft jazz in the background. I'd just taken a sip of wine when my friend Mia tilted her head and asked, "So, how was the retreat?" For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. "What retreat?" I said, light as air. She blinked, a little thrown. "Your family retreat." It looked amazing. Matching shirts, the lake resort, that drone shot. Everyone was there. Everyone. She fished out her phone, scrolled for a moment, and turned the screen toward me. There it was, an aerial photo of a lakeside resort. 118 people, arranged in perfect symmetry. The banner read, "Wynn Family Annual Retreat 2025. My parents front and center. My 6 siblings, their spouses, their kids, a handful of cousins, even the in-laws, who barely showed up for funerals. And not me. I blinked once, twice, smiled. "Oh, that," I said. "Yeah, I wasn't there, technically." Mia's face shifted. "Oh, got it." She looked ready to apologize, but I waved it off. The table around us kept buzzing with other conversations. Vacation deals, oat milk preferences, laughter that came too easily. I nodded, smiled, and even laughed on cue. But inside, my heart was sprinting. 10 minutes later, I excused myself to the bathroom. The hallway light buzzed faintly. Inside, lavender soap mixed with someone's hair gel in the air. I locked the door and sat on the edge of the tub. The chill of the porcelain seeped through my jeans. I opened Instagram. Dozens of posts. Sunset bonfires, lakeside brunches, choreographed dances, even a family talent night where everyone wore identical resort shirts. One caption read, #retreat to reconnect. I kept scrolling until my vision blurred. Then I remembered, 3 weeks ago, I'd called my mom. "Hey, are we doing anything this year for the retreat?" She'd sounded distracted. "We're keeping it small this time, not enough space for everyone." Not enough space. I didn't question it. I never did. Middle child reflexes. Be polite. Don't ask twice. Assume they know best. But now, looking at 118 smiling faces, I realized small didn't mean what I thought it did. I stared at that photo until tears came. Quiet, controlled, the kind you don't even feel starting. I didn't sob. I just leaked. Someone knocked on the door. "You okay?" Mia's voice. "Yeah, stomach thing," I managed. "Be right out." "Want me to get you anything?" No, I'm good. Thanks." I waited another minute before standing. My reflection looked blank. Not angry, not sad, just neutralized. I wiped under my eyes with a tissue that shredded in half and laughed a little at the absurdity. Then I pulled my shoulders back, gave myself a practiced smile, half human, half armor, and walked out. The dinner had moved on to dessert. No one noticed my absence. But something inside me had shifted. I didn't need to ask why they'd left me out. I already knew. I just didn't know what I was going to do about it. That night, lying in bed, I thought back to all the times I'd been quietly cut out before. When I was 10, my cousin's birthday party got too full. When I was 15, they went to a lake house weekend I only found out about from tagged photos. Once, I even helped pack favor bags for a retreat I wasn't invited to. I'd ironed the t-shirts, labeled the bags. And still, I'd shown up every year after, hoping maybe this time I'd be included. I used to think being overlooked was a misunderstanding. Now I realized it was choreography. My family was big, loud, and musical. Everyone sang. Some played instruments. 2 had careers in it. Family dinners were jam sessions. And me, I was the audience. I used to try to be funny, just to keep up. At 7, I joined in a birthday song, and my sister winced. "Tina, please, you're flattening everything." The laughter that followed stung in ways I didn't have words for yet. From then on, Tina, the vibe killer, became a running joke. Later, Tina joke became shorthand for any punchline that didn't land. They even used it when I wasn't there. "That's such an Tina joke," they'd say, laughing. One time, I asked Mom if she thought I was funny. She smiled like I'd asked if the sky was edible. "You're clever," she said, "but not exactly entertaining." I stopped trying after that. At school, I tested my humor on friends, cautiously. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes I just trailed off mid-sentence, waiting for silence to pass. But I never forgot the feeling of that first real laugh, years later, on a stage with bad lighting and sticky floors, telling a story about my dentist neighbor who tried to flirt mid-cleaning. The crowd laughed, real laughter, the kind that fills a room and cracks something open inside you. I was hooked. For months, I performed quietly, without telling anyone at home. Then one night at dinner, I cleared my throat and said, "So, I've been doing stand-up comedy." Forks paused midair. "Like performing?" My younger sister smirked. "Yeah," I said. "Small club downtown." My brother chuckled. "You? On stage?" "It's not a stadium," I said. "Sticky floors, expired beer, but yes, a stage." They laughed again. Mom patted my hand. "That's sweet. Good to have hobbies." It felt like being patted on the head. I thought once they saw me perform, they'd understand. So I invited them. I picked the perfect show. Friday night, decent crowd, great energy. I got there early, saved seats, rehearsed my set a dozen times. I kept glancing at the door until the host called my name. No one came. The empty seat in the third row stayed empty. I still went on. I smiled, opened with a throwaway line, and the room erupted. I crushed it. People laughed until they teared up. One woman hugged me afterward, said she hadn't laughed like that in months. But all I could think about was that empty seat. Someone once said comedians are people who make others laugh while bleeding inside. That night, it felt true. After that, I stopped inviting them. Not out of spite, out of survival. They never asked about it again. My siblings released new songs, booked gigs, and sometimes joked about me. "Tina's little comedy thing," they'd say, like I was knitting scarves for squirrels. I'd smile, nod, laugh at their jokes, but something had calcified. And when I saw that 118-person photo, every small dismissal, every half smile at my expense, every not enough space fell into perfect alignment. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't even plan to act. But that night, I opened my laptop, stared at a blank document, and wrote a single sentence. Some families make music together. Mine just makes excuses. I stared at it until the cursor stopped blinking, then whispered aloud, "Tomorrow, I'll say the thing they told me never to say out loud." The next evening, the club's neon sign flickered against the wet pavement like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. Inside, the smell of stale beer and citrus cleaner mingled with the faint hum of a broken speaker. I'd performed here a dozen times before, but that night, the stage felt smaller. Or maybe I'd just decided to stand taller. The host mispronounced my name, again, and I smiled anyway. "Give it up for Tina Wynn." Applause, polite and brief. I walked on stage without my notes, just that one line echoing in my head. Some families make music together. Mine just makes excuses. I gripped the mic, took a breath, and said, "Most comedians start doing stand-up because their families laughed at their jokes. I started because mine didn't." The first ripple of laughter came, a startled, honest laugh. They actually created a category for me. You've heard of dad jokes? Mine were Tina jokes. You know, the kind that ruin the vibe in family holidays. Another burst of laughter. I could feel the tension break, like a knot loosening in my chest. In my family, bad jokes weren't just embarrassing, they were a scandal. I should have had my own documentary, The Girl Who Wasn't Funny. Applause, real this time. I talked about the endless musical performances, the matching outfits, the retreats with mandatory harmonies. They could all sing on key. I, apparently, could clear a room. Talent, just inverted. People laughed again. Then I said it. Last week, my parents told me there wasn't enough space for me at the annual family retreat. Then they invited 118 people. The crowd gasped, then laughed, then gasped again. My favorite mix. So yeah, there wasn't enough space, not at the resort, just in their idea of who belongs. I let the silence stretch a beat too long. Then I smiled and said softly, "It's fine. I booked my own stage." The room stood, standing ovation. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved, like I'd finally exhaled something I'd been holding for years. When I got home that night, the applause was still echoing faintly in my ears. I showered, ate leftover noodles, and slept dreamlessly. At 7:03 a.m., my phone rang. "Mom." I let it ring. Then again, then again. By the fifth call, I answered. She didn't say hello. "How dare you?" she hissed. "Someone saw your little show. They told us what you said. You humiliated this family." I blinked. "Good morning to you, too. Do you think this is funny? Do you think dragging your parents through the mud is a joke?" "It was a 10-minute set, Mom. I didn't name anyone." "You didn't have to," she snapped. "Everyone knows who we are. Your siblings have reputations to protect. You've made us a laughingstock." You mean because I wasn't invited to the retreat? I said, voice flat. Or are we still pretending that didn't happen? Silence. Then, do you know what your brother said? He might lose a gig over this. Your sister says people are calling her fake online. So you're saying people believe me? More silence, then a click. She hung up. I stared at my phone until the screen went black. By lunchtime, my group chat started detonating. My sister sent a message longer than a novel, accusing me of misrepresenting the family and twisting narratives. My brother followed with a voice note. It's really toxic that you bring private stuff into your brand. You've always had boundary issues. A cousin chimed in, suggesting I'd probably misread things. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding, Tina. An aunt texted, I'm praying for you. I muted them all. The truth was, none of them were asking for clarity. They just wanted quiet. The same quiet I'd perfected for years. But this time I couldn't give it to them. That evening, I made tea, set my phone on the table, and opened my laptop camera. No makeup, hoodie, mug in hand. Hi, I began. So, I guess some of you saw my recent set. Apparently it upset people. I looked straight into the lens. Here's the thing. If your family tells you for 20 years that you're not funny, and then one night, hundreds of strangers laugh until they cry, you're allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to heal however you need to. I paused, breathed. I didn't get loud. I didn't name names. I just told the truth. I smiled faintly. And if you throw a 118-person retreat and say there's no space for your daughter, maybe don't act shocked when she finally tells people about it. I hit upload, midnight. I expected a few hundred views, maybe a handful of supportive comments. By morning, it had over 300,000. By noon, I was trending under Tina Said It. By the time I made coffee, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Messages from strangers poured in. Thank you for saying what I never could. I thought I was the only one. You're my hero. And then, comments from my family's friends, half sympathetic, half scandalized. By evening, the video hit 500,000 views. Then came the knock. I froze. 3 shadows behind frosted glass. When I opened the door, my parents stood there, Mom's face rigid, Dad's red with anger. Beside them, my brother Chad, arms crossed like a self-appointed security guard. You need to take that video down, Dad said. No hello. You made us a joke, Mom said. Do you even realize what you've done? I leaned against the frame. I didn't make you a joke. I made you human. Don't you dare! No, I interrupted. You don't get to yell at me on my doorstep. If you start shouting, I'll film it. They stared, stunned. You're threatening your family? Mom gasped. I'm protecting myself, I said, from the same people who cut me out and then got mad when I told the truth. Chad muttered, unbelievable. I lifted my phone, camera on. They stepped back instantly, like I'd drawn a weapon. Good talk, I said, and shut the door. I stood there for a long time, watching them through the peephole. Mom looked ready to cry, or scream. Dad looked tired. Chad looked like he was calculating damages. The next morning, an email popped up in my inbox. Subject line, urgent family concern. It was from Chad. He'd drafted a cease and desist letter accusing me of defamation, only he'd spelled it deformation. The spacing was wrong. The font, Comic Sans. There were 4 typos in the first sentence. It was almost funny. Almost. I didn't reply. But I did open my camera again. Good morning, I said into the lens. Apparently, pointing out that I wasn't invited to my own family retreat is now a federal offense. Cue dramatic music. I held up a totally fictional letter for the camera. Respectfully yours, I read aloud. Chad, the enforcer. The video exploded. 900,000 views by the next day. 3 interview requests. Thousands of comments laughing. Not at me this time, but with me. Somewhere between the laughter, a DM came through. No username, no profile picture, just an image. A screenshot of an internal spreadsheet labeled Retreat Committee Headcount, Final. And in red text beside my name, Tina Wynn, Remove. Initials next to it, CM. I stared at it, the laughter in my notifications still echoing faintly through my phone speaker. My stomach turned. Someone in my family hadn't forgotten me. They'd deleted me. And suddenly, the story I thought I'd already told was just beginning. For 3 days straight, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Mentions, tags, reaction videos, podcasts dissecting every frame of my upload like it was a courtroom exhibit. But none of that compared to the photo sitting in my DMs. The spreadsheet with my name crossed out in red. Tina Wynn, Remove, Initials, CM. CM could only mean one thing, Chad. The family protector, the self-appointed enforcer of our spotless image. I stared at that screenshot until the screen dimmed. Then I saved it, printed it, slipped it into a folder marked proof. By the fourth day, I'd stopped answering calls. My voicemail was full anyway. Some messages were angry, some were guilt-laced, and some, I could tell, were rehearsed, probably written in the family group chat first. Then came a different tone, an email from Harper & Field PR, the firm that had handled the retreat's promotional campaign. They called it a content partnership. The resort had offered a discount in exchange for social media exposure. And right there, in the fine print, family members participating must align with brand messaging. It wasn't about space, it was about image. I scrolled down to the list of approved participants. All my siblings, their spouses, even their toddlers. And then a note at the bottom, limit 118 head count. Adjust as needed for optics. I could almost hear them debating it. She's unpredictable. She jokes about us. She doesn't fit the vibe. I slammed my laptop shut. That night I heard a knock again. 3 short raps, the kind that said, business, not family. I opened the door halfway. Chad stood there holding an envelope. Tina, he began. His tone had that corporate polish I'd grown allergic to. Can we talk like adults? Depends, I said. Are you here as my brother or my legal representative? He blinked. I'm trying to help everyone calm down. The video is still up and it's causing problems. Mom's crying every day. Dad barely sleeps. And you? He hesitated. I'm managing it. But people are starting to reach out to my company. They think you exposed... I told the truth, I cut in. That's not exposure. That's sunlight. His jaw flexed. You could have handled it privately. Privately? I laughed. Like being privately deleted from a family spreadsheet? His face went still, just for a second. Then he recovered. You shouldn't believe everything you see online. So you didn't cross me out? He looked away. That document wasn't meant for public circulation. That was as close to a confession as I was going to get. I'd appreciate it, he said, tone sharpening, if you didn't mention my name again. You're escalating things. You escalated the moment you sent me a cease and desist in Comic Sans, I said. His ears turned red. It was temporary formatting. I smiled faintly. Sure, counselor. He took a breath. Look, you win, okay? People are on your side. Just take the video down before it destroys what's left. I leaned against the doorframe. Maybe what's left needed to burn. His mouth opened, but no words came. He just set the envelope down and walked away. Inside was another letter, this time typed properly, signed by Mom and Dad. Family matters should remain within family. We are considering our next steps. Next steps, the language of people who thought love was a business model. By morning, I'd turned the envelope into prop material. Hi, everyone, I said into my phone camera, coffee mug in hand. I've been asked to remove my video. Apparently, telling the truth about being excluded from your own family retreat counts as defamation. I held up a blurred letter and added, if you need to silence someone, at least spell it right next time. I didn't name names, but everyone knew. Within 24 hours, the video hit 1 million views. Someone added dramatic music behind it and turned it into a TikTok trend. Another creator made fan art. Me holding a mic, haloed by the words, not enough space. I should have felt vindicated, but instead a heavy quiet settled in my chest. That's when I noticed a new DM request. No username, no icon, just text. You're not crazy. I found this in the shared drive before it was deleted. Attached, a photo of an internal email chain. Subject line, head count update. One message stood out. Remove Tina from the guest list. She's unpredictable on social media, not brand aligned. Confirmed? Initials again, CM. Underneath, another reply. Short, cautious. Approved. Dad agrees. My hand trembled slightly. I printed it, added it to the folder. Proof, again. A few hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Tina? Dad's voice, soft, shaky. Hi, Dad. I don't want to argue, he said. Just, please, think about what you're doing. I am thinking about it. He sighed. You've always been so sensitive. I closed my eyes. No, Dad, I've always been invisible. There's a difference. Tina, we didn't mean to hurt you. Things got complicated. The retreat was a partnership deal, I interrupted. I saw the contract. You cut me out because I didn't fit the image, because I tell jokes instead of singing harmonies. He was silent for a moment. Then, you think I wanted this? You think I liked it? We were under pressure. Sponsors, deadlines, promises. You could have said no. He hesitated, not without consequences. I almost laughed. And what do you think I'm living through right now? He said quietly, "It's not too late to fix it." But I didn't answer. That night, I started cleaning. Not to tidy, to erase. Old family photos came down from shelves. Frames went into drawers. The living room walls turned bare. As I moved one photo, a manila envelope slipped off the shelf and hit the floor. I didn't remember putting it there. Inside was a printed guest list. Same layout as the spreadsheet. Same font. My name crossed out. A post-it attached. In handwriting I didn't recognize. Ask who signed the sponsor writer. No sender, no explanation. Just another door opening into silence. The next day I got another email, this one from the resort PR office. Ms. Wynn, please remove any proprietary documents or screenshots from public circulation. Failure to comply may result in legal action. I smiled without meaning to. The corporate tone almost made me nostalgic. They didn't understand yet. This wasn't about legalities. It was about truth, and truth doesn't fit neatly in their spreadsheets. That night I filmed again. Family, I said into the camera, isn't supposed to be a PR campaign. It's supposed to be a place you don't have to audition for. I let the silence sit. No music, no edits. It wasn't funny. It wasn't meant to be. By morning, it had 2 million views. Somewhere across town, I imagined Chad pacing his office, my parents scanning emails with trembling fingers, maybe even my siblings realizing that for once, the punchline wasn't about me. And yet, even as I watched the numbers climb, a quiet dread pressed against my ribs. Because the post-it note on my desk whispered a new question. Who signed the writer? And what would I lose if I found out? The weekend came wrapped in quiet. For the first time in months, my notifications slowed. The internet had found new drama, new villains. But inside the calm, something darker pulsed, a question that refused to let go. Who signed the writer? I opened the manila envelope again. The post-it note stared back, that thin yellow whisper, ask who signed. It had been left deliberately. Someone wanted me to know. That morning, Mia texted, "Coffee? You need air." We met at our usual corner cafe, all exposed brick and melancholy jazz. She slid into the booth across from me, eyes cautious. "So, how's the fame?" she asked lightly. "Temporary," I said, like everything else. She winced. "Tina, I have to tell you something." I looked up. "That's a dangerous opener." She hesitated, then exhaled. "Your sister asked me to show you that first retreat photo." I blinked. "What?" She said, "Make it casual. She needs to see it from someone else." I didn't understand why at the time, but I think she wanted to control the fallout, I said flatly. Get ahead of my reaction. Mia nodded, guilt softening her voice. "I'm sorry. I thought I was just being a friend." I reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "You were. You still are." But my coffee had turned bitter. Back home, I sat at my desk and pulled out the folder labeled Proof, the printed emails, the spreadsheet, the guest list, and now Mia's confession layered over it all. The pattern was clear. Delete, defend, distract. Every step, deliberate. That evening, a new message appeared in my inbox. No greeting. Just a scanned document titled Writer Signature Final.pdf. My pulse picked up. The first page was the resort contract. On the second, 3 signatures, one unmistakably my father's, one printed name for the PR rep, and the third, my mother's elegant cursive. But below that, initials in blue ink, A.W. Alina Wynn, my eldest sister, the family's de facto producer, brand manager, and unofficial dictator of harmony. She hadn't just approved the list. She'd executed the decision. My phone rang before I could process it. "Dad." I let it buzz, then answered. "Tina," he said quietly. His voice sounded older. "We need to talk." "Do we?" "I'm not calling to argue. I just want you to hear me." Silence stretched between us. Then he said, "We didn't mean for it to go this far. We just didn't know how to stop it." "Stop what, Dad? Me existing outside your narrative?" He sighed. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. The sponsor wanted a very specific image. Alina handled most of it. I signed because it was already approved. I thought we could make it up later. I closed my eyes. "You crossed me out for marketing." "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." He paused. "I thought I was protecting you." "From what?" I asked. "Being visible?" There was a long silence on the line, then softly, "I've been proud of you, just quietly." The word quietly made me laugh, though it didn't sound like laughter. When we hung up, I didn't cry. I just sat there, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator, that small, domestic sound anchoring me back to myself. I picked up the printed writer again, stared at Alina's initials. She'd always been the architect of appearances, the golden child who spoke in brand-safe sentences, who edited family photos before posting them, who called our childhood content. And now she'd erased me. That night, I drafted a message to her. Saw the writer. Nice signature. Must have been a tough call. I never sent it. Instead, I opened my window, let the night air in, and watched the city lights flicker like restless thoughts. The next morning, a new message arrived. From Resort PR, subject, immediate compliance request. Cease dissemination of proprietary materials. Our client family is experiencing undue harm. Legal counsel will follow if required. I deleted it. Then I opened my camera. People keep asking if I regret it, I said into the lens. If I wish I'd kept quiet. And honestly, maybe life would be easier if I had, but not better. I let the silence breathe. When truth hurts, it's because it hits something that was already broken. No hashtags this time, no jokes, just honesty. By noon, the video had 1 million likes. By evening, my inbox was full of stories. Strangers writing about being cut out of weddings, family photos, holidays, entire lives. The comments were flooded with one phrase, "Thank you for saying it out loud." And then, buried among them, one message stood out. From unknown. Subject, you should have this. Attachment, a scanned letter. Old paper, faint handwriting. My grandmother's signature at the bottom. For the child who doesn't fit the picture, keep your voice. The song they don't let you sing will be the one the world remembers. My breath caught. I'd never seen her handwriting before. She'd died when I was 9. I printed the letter, held it between my fingers. The edges were soft, fragile, like something that had waited a long time to be found. I remembered her piano, the one they'd sold after she passed. How I used to sit beneath it, listening to her hum. She'd once told me, even wrong notes are still music if you play them with heart. And maybe that's all I'd been doing, turning wrong notes into something that finally sounded like me. That night, another text lit up my phone. We need to talk tomorrow, noon. Cafe Paloma. AW. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Because for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted vengeance. Maybe what I wanted was understanding, maybe closure, or maybe just to see if she could say it, the truth, out loud. As I shut off the lights, the folded letter from my grandmother rested on my nightstand beside the folder of evidence. 2 kinds of inheritance. One built on silence, the other on voice. Tomorrow, I'd find out which one would define me. Cafe Paloma was quiet that morning. The kind of quiet that made spoons clink louder and footsteps sound heavier. I got there early. I didn't know if I was showing up for closure or confrontation. Maybe both. Alina arrived late, of course. Always on her own time, always centered. She wore beige, the family's favorite color for pretending nothing was wrong. "Tina," she said, sliding into the seat across from me like it was a business meeting. "You look tired." "I could say the same," I replied. She smiled thinly. "This has been a lot." "For who?" I asked. "You or the image?" Her jaw tightened. "You think I wanted this mess? You think I enjoyed watching everything fall apart?" "You signed the rider," I said. "You made the choice." She looked down at her coffee, stirring it, though it didn't need stirring. It wasn't personal. The sponsor wanted a clean story, a musical family, harmony, unity, joy. You. Didn't fit the soundtrack? "Tina, you were unpredictable. You just started that stand-up stuff. Mom was terrified you'd say something on stage that could tell the truth." Her silence was answer enough. I leaned back. "You could have called me, told me the truth. I'd have respected that more than being erased." Alina's eyes flickered. For the first time, she looked small. "I thought I was protecting everyone, including you." I let that sink in. The oldest lie in the world. I hurt you for your own good. After a long pause, she said, "Dad told me he spoke to you." "He did. He said he signed because you approved it first." Her lips parted, then closed again. "He told you that?" "Yes." She exhaled slowly. "Then I guess there's no use denying it." Outside, a bus hissed to a stop. Steam fogged the cafe window for a moment before clearing. "I didn't mean to ruin anything," she whispered. "I just wanted to keep control." "You always did," I said. "Even when we were kids, you edited the videos before posting them. You cut my jokes out of the bloopers." She flinched. "They weren't funny. Maybe not to you." We sat in silence for a long time. The air between us felt like glass. Finally, I reached into my bag and pulled out the folded letter, the one from Grandma. I slid it across the table. Do you recognize the handwriting? Alina frowned. Where did you get this? It found me, I said. Someone mailed it. It was written for me when we were kids. She read it quietly. Her fingers trembled at the last line. The song they don't let you sing will be the one the world remembers. When she looked up, her eyes glistened. She wrote something similar to me, she said softly. But mine said, remember to listen for other voices. I never did. It was strange, watching the architect of my erasure look almost human. You could still start now, I said. She nodded, blinking fast. If I apologize, will it even matter? It'll matter to me, I said, but I'm not sure it'll fix what's already broken. Her throat tightened. Then what do you want? I want to stop fighting for a seat at a table that keeps moving away. She didn't reply. She just stared at her coffee as if it might offer an escape. When I left the cafe, the sun was high, slicing through cold air. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the need to look back. That night, my phone buzzed again. Dad. I almost ignored it, then answered. Tina, he said, your mother's not talking to anyone. She's ashamed. Because of me? Because of herself, I think. Silence to Yaz. Then he added, we're moving, selling the house. I know, I said. You already did. He hesitated. I found something else. An hour later, he showed up at my apartment. No cameras this time. No fury. Just a man holding a weathered envelope. He handed it to me. It's the original of that letter. Your grandmother gave it to your mom years ago. Said it was for you when you were ready. She never delivered it. I ran my fingers over the creases. The paper smelled faintly of cedar and thyme. Why now? I asked. Because I think, he said quietly, you finally became who she was writing to. He looked tired, remorse carved into the lines of his face. We thought control was love. We were wrong. For the first time, I didn't see a villain. Just a man who'd spent too long trying to conduct a symphony that never belonged to him. I nodded. Thank you for bringing it. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. If you ever want to talk, I know where to find you, I said gently. After he left, I sat at my desk, the letter beside my mic, the city hum outside the window. My next show was that night. Small venue, low ceilings, rows of people who'd started to feel like family. Backstage, I tucked Grandma's letter into my jacket pocket. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from knowing I wasn't performing out of pain anymore, but out of freedom. The lights dimmed, the crowd hushed. I stepped into the glow and adjusted the mic. Funny thing about family, I began. Sometimes you spend your whole life trying to belong, until you realize belonging isn't something they give you. It's something you decide. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd, and once you do, there's no spreadsheet, no contract, no signature in blue ink that can erase you. Applause swelled, not loud, but deep. I smiled, lifted the mic closer, and finished with the line that had started it all. Some families make music together. Mine just made excuses, but I finally learned how to play my own song. The room rose in a standing ovation. For the first time, I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt like I'd come home, to myself.